Namaskaraha. In the next few minutes, I'm going to go through some tips on how to improve the Sanskrit speaking skills. I gathered these tips from my own experience and my interaction with the Sanskrit language learners, and also from various sources available from different places. The first thing is to get familiar with the basics. Is it difficult to learn any language? It depends on one's determination and one's inclination to learn that language. So get to know the basic vocabulary or the collection of basic words for different objects or different things or everyday things to be used in that language. And where do we get this vocabulary? From different sources or resources. It could be a website, or it could be a textbook, or it could be a class, or it could be a group which is interested in that language. So there are many textbooks available, both printed as well as online PDF textbooks are available, which explain very basic usage, how to form simple sentences, which are the different words for different day-to-day objects like book or morning, evening, table, chair, walking, reading, running, etc. So get hold of one of these resources or multiple resources and start reading them, or if you are in a group, start participating. So that is the first step. And since it is a language, every language has a grammar. So one has to be familiar with basic grammar. So grammar is not difficult. So many people, they get scared of the word grammar, especially in Sanskrit. But grammar is nothing but a set of rules for that language so that everyone using that language can understand the meaning of the words and the sentences which are used. That is the purpose of grammar. And one doesn't have to be perfect in grammar. So very basics of the grammar, like for example in Sanskrit, what are the numbers or the vachanas, like the ekavachanam, dvivachanam, bahuvachanam, and the linga, the genders, strilinga, pullinga, napunsakalinga, and vibhakti forms, and some basic verb forms. Those are the basics which one needs to know as they want to begin learning Sanskrit. Next, start with a prayer in the morning. A prayer or prarthana is nothing but a determination or sankalpa to do anything. So if you are familiar with a stotram like Ganesha Vandana, etc., whatever your favorite prayer or prarthana is, you can start with that early in the morning. And also determination, do a sankalpa in your mind that you are going to make a sincere effort towards learning Sanskrit or using Sanskrit. Aham adya Sanskritabhyasam karomi. That is the determination that one should start a day with. The next step is to start replacing the words in our thoughts or mind. Usually Now we are used to thinking or communicating in a language in which we have studied or which we are used to for a long time because of various circumstances, maybe due to our work, job, etc. And we are so used to that language, maybe it could be our native language or it could be our English. So we are so used to it that even when in our mind for thinking we use that language. Suppose if we want to go to school, so or we want to send our kid to school, or we want to eat something, so we'll suddenly start thinking about, oh, let's eat rice. Let me eat rice. How beautiful is the picture? Something like that. We always think, or we are used to think in the language which we generally use every day. So now that needs to be replaced. The language or bhasha lives in the usage or expression. So we should start replacing those words in order to get comfortable with the new language and also increase our vocabulary. So one by one, start with the single words. Now, for example, we want to think, I would like to eat rice. So when this thought comes to mind, we should think which are the different words that could be replaced, that we have the equivalent words for those words in English or your native language in Sanskrit. For example, for the rice, we can replace it with annam, odanam. I want to eat rice. So for the I one, I can replace it with aham. Rice I can replace with annam. So at least with single words we can start. Aham, annam, wants to eat. Suppose I don't know how to say want to eat. I want to eat rice. Aham, want to eat rice. So at least with single one step at a time, we can start with single words and then gradually move on to replacing multiple words like aham annam khaditum ichhami. Ichha is for wish, khaditum to eat, aham annam khaditum ichhami. So that makes it the whole sentence. Another example, if you take the picture is beautiful. So if you want to replace, at least for picture we can replace it with chitram. That chitram is beautiful, or that chitram is sundaram. We can replace like that on the next word sundaram for beautiful, and then we can start forming the words. That, to that we can replace it with tat. Tat chitram sundaram. So start replacing in your everyday word. For example, if you are asking somebody or if you are thinking like where is the water. So for water, what is the equivalent word? Jalam. So we can start with where is Jalam? Or then there comes for where. Equivalent for the replacement of where is Kutra. Kutra Jalam. I will go in the car. So you can start replacing with aham gachami. Aham is again I. Aham gachami. that book is big. Again, that we know already, that for that the word is tat. Book, if you know book, pustakam. And big, one may not know what is the equivalent or the same word for the big. You can still keep big in your mind. That tat pustakam, big. So this is the slowly you can start replacing these words one by one in your mind, at least first. If you're not comfortable expressing this to others, then start using these words in your mind first, and then forming the sentences in your mind. Then start putting these across to others when communicating with others. Now it is important to what you think in your mind should be expressed out loudly, and wherever possible use it in your house, in your surroundings, to express or use these words. And maybe if you are at your work, if you have colleagues with whom you can use these words, then start using those words so that you get that confidence of using the words and the sentences, and the level of communication which can be understood by others. That also you can make out. The next one is the use of dictionaries. The initial stages when one starts to learn a language, one is inclined to use bilingual dictionaries. For example, in this case, English to Sanskrit dictionary. Suppose one is familiar with the English language, then one looks up the word, the English word in that language, and then try to figure out what is the word for that object in Sanskrit. For example, if you want to look up water, English to Sanskrit dictionary, we look up the word water, and then the dictionary might show the word jalam for that water. Similarly, if you want to look up the word book, then the dictionary might show the word pustaka for that word. So the initial stages, it may be good to refer to the bilingual dictionary, but the next step, the next stage, is to do away with that bilingual dictionary, because this is a very important step, because dependency on the bilingual dictionary is very, very harmful. Because we get used to it and always look up this the word in which in the language in which we are familiar with, and that means in that language we are trying to think first and then look up the word in that language and then get that equivalent word from Sanskrit and then replace that in our thoughts. So this harms our ability to think in that language and learn that language, because every language has its own style of usage. A word has to be used in that language in a particular style and particular context. So Sanskrit has its own style. The words and their usages have their own style. So if we keep depending on these bilingual dictionaries, then we are never going to learn the language correctly. So in the initial stages, to add more and more words to our vocabulary, or at least the basic words to our vocabulary, it may be good to start with the bilingual dictionary. But when we proceed, or when we gather the very basic words, then we should move on to Sanskrit dictionaries, all Sanskrit dictionaries. So the words are given in Sanskrit, and there are the synonyms are also given in Sanskrit. So there are various Sanskrit such dictionaries are available. For example, sanskritdictionary.com. There are online dictionaries are also there. For example, this one, sanskritdictionary.com, in which you can look up, you can type a word in Devanagari script, and also you can get the output in Sanskrit itself. So for example, if you look up the word Raja, it will give different words, different synonyms called Drupa, Rat, Bhupati, etc. So this will enhance our language skills and also increase the vocabulary exponentially. And also most of these dictionaries, they also give the origin of those words in Sanskrit, how those words are formed, what are the root words, and how those words are formed, and what are the possible different forms of that word. So by referencing these or referring to these Sanskrit dictionaries, our language skills and the depth increases to a great extent. The online dictionary examples are like sanskritdictionary.com, and there is essay.wiktionary.org, which sources its synonyms and the forms from different Sanskrit dictionaries. There are famous dictionaries like Vachaspathyam and Kalpadrama. So that is a good source. And also, if you want to use offline dictionaries, I have prepared a different YouTube video on how to install offline dictionaries on your mobile phone. So the link is given there. So if you are interested, you can watch that. So it is important to use the Sanskrit dictionaries in order to think in Sanskrit and increase the knowledge of Sanskrit. I can give you a couple of examples why translating word to word is not a good idea. The first one is, if you look up the word close in the English Sanskrit dictionary, if you look up this spokensanskrit.org website, you will get the Sanskrit equivalent of saying nibida and also pidhana. Both are having different meanings in Sanskrit. Nibida means close, near, in that sense, dense, whereas pidhana means shut or shut a door in that sense. So if we, without knowing these meanings and without the correct context, if we try to use the words blindly in Sanskrit, then obviously it will not give the right meaning. So we have to stop thinking in English and start thinking in Sanskrit. If you do think in English. So our approach will be doing word-to-word replacement. So that is not desired, basically. So another example would be, if you look up the word like, then the Sanskrit meaning would be like sadrusha or rochate. Again, both are having different meanings. So like means, sadrusha means similar. So something is similar to something. So in that sense, we are using sadrusha. Or if we are liking something or loving something, then rochate is more appropriate there. So we have to keep this in mind. So that's why it is very highly recommended to stop translating word to word or even thinking in English or other languages and start thinking in Sanskrit itself. Yeah. So that will improve the vocabulary as well as a grasp or hold on the language. The same thing with the next tip would be, do not try to be perfect. As the sayings go, perfection is the enemy of progress, or the perfect is the enemy of good. So initially, when we are trying to learn any language, our grammar won't be correct. The use of words will not be correct. The style of usage will not be correct. But unless we start using the words or using the language in practice, we will not achieve any progress. Forget the perfection. So even highly skilled, highly read scholars in Sanskrit or any language, there are bound to be some mistakes. There are bound to be some imperfections according to the grammar of that language or according to the usage of that language. But we should start using the words, the language, to the possible extent. So over a period of time, the progress will be made, though it may not be perfect, but there will be certainly enhancements or more control, more grasp over the language. So initially we may not be familiar with, or we may be mistakes in the use of linga, gender and vachana, because many of the other languages may be having a different structures. So they may not be having dvivachana, or they may not be having then they may be having a different style of using the genders. For example, in Sanskrit, in English, all the inanimate objects are mostly used as neuter or napunsakalingam, but whereas in Sanskrit, many of the living objects, they are also referenced by as napunskalinga, or neuter objects, neuter gender. So these are some of the challenges one might face while starting to use the Sanskrit language. But as the time goes by, one will be having more and more knowledge and will be able to use these structures correctly. The next tip is about the fluency in a language. The fluency is not about having a large vocabulary, but being able to describe an object or a situation using the limited vocabulary one would have. So try to continue the sentences, or try to express a situation or what you want to say, put it across in the given limited number of words that one might have. For example, if we want to say umbrella, and we don't know what is the equivalent or what is the word for umbrella in Sanskrit, so how are you going to describe it? Yeah. So you might be knowing the word for sun, so we can try to say a vastu which is used to protect from the sun, to be in the sun, or to cover from the sun. So there could be many ways which an object can be described. So you can try to do that. For example, avaranam, surya prakashe avaranam, surya prakashat rakshanam, suryat rakshanam, surya prakashe gamanaya sadhanam. So there could be, we can try many other ways with the words which are already known to us. So that way our skills of using the words will increase, and also in that way we could learn more words also, or more synonyms also of that word. So that way it will also improve the thinking in that language, rather than thinking in our native language or English. So suppose if you are stuck, we don't know umbrella. So if you want to say, give me the umbrella, so then we'll be stuck. We don't know what to say. So instead of that, if you know Prakasha or Surya or Vrushti for rain, you can start using those words and put across or try to express that object in using those words. Vrushti kale उपयोगः भवति तत् साधनम्. सृष्टिकाले वृष्टिकाले उपयोगः भवति तत् वस्तु. Like that, we can start forming the sentences and try to communicate the same thing using those words. The next step is the persistence. Start using the language for a minute. So you decide within a minute we are not going to use any other language but Sanskrit. So that way it will force one to think in Sanskrit and do not try to depend or reduce the dependency on the words from other languages. So as we saw in the previous step, try to express a certain thing or describe a certain thing or object using Sanskrit words only. For example, if you don't know how to say a boat, Jalavahanam, because it goes on it travels on water. So Jalavahanam, Jale Gacchati, Tadvahanam, something like that. Use the simple words which are already known and try to describe an object, but persistent. Do not give up and try to immediately jump to a different language and bring in that word from a different language. So that will kill the whole purpose. So try to be persistent, stick to the usage of Sanskrit for that given time that you decide. So do not think of anything else, any other language. The next important tip is regularity, being regular, to practice, or abhyasa, swadhyaya. So this is very important, because using only by this, being regular only, doing punah punah abhyasa, punaravartanam, one can progress further like any other skill. So in this example, in this case, make a habit to read, or even better write, at least one word, and if possible its forms is different. Suppose if you select a namapadam or noun, try to read, if time permits, write, because writing is makes puts that into memory better. So write the word or read the word, and also possibly its forms. Suppose if you select the word guru, so all the vibhakti forms of guru one should read. So select a word. You can select a random mode, you can select in sequence. You select that, read it, possibly all the forms, and also if you select like a kriyapadam, possibly the different forms, kriyapada forms, read it, or if possible write it. So you can refer to different books which are like Shabda Rupavali or Dhatu Rupavali, which show you different forms of a word. So you can just open the book. You can, if you are going in sequence, you can sequentially open the pages and read or write the words, or just randomly open any word and make it a habit to read or write at least one word per day. So that will put that word in memory in a better way. A language is good only if you use it, and that is to practice it. To practice it, one is to, you can speak to yourself in your mind and to your immediate neighbors, like your friends, or to your family, or to your colleagues, if that is possible. But generally, suppose somebody is learning a language like English or Spanish. So if one is surrounded by that community, and then that is put into use, so then one can also practice talking it, speaking that language, or also by hearing how the language is used by members of the community. But the challenge with Sanskrit learning is that not many Sanskrit native speakers are available. Not many Sanskrit speakers are available, basically. So it is difficult to find yourself surrounded by people who speak Sanskrit. So in that case, it's a good idea to join a Sanskrit speaking group or a class. So these may be available in your city or neighborhood where you live, or there could be some online or phone groups or opportunities available, like we have this Vadatu Sanskritam phone group, which link, the details of that group is available at the link below. And also use it. Use. This is very important. Underline. Use the language wherever possible. By using it more and more, the grasp or the skills can be improved. अस्तु, धन्यवादः, नमस्कारः.